smite. Expect them as well with the smite. Gets it, he kills it! Oh my god! Expect he gets the kill off the back of it as well! They get two!
You cannot expect a play like that to help win you the game. We are just about to jump into the matchup between the UK underdogs exceL Esports, looking to pull off another upset win, this time against German powerhouse Schalke 04. Before we get to that though, key player of the game, Drakos, Froskurinn, going to reveal the numbers to you. 42% of the votes each for Mickey and Perks. And it comes down to 1,292 votes for Mickey, 1,294 votes to Perks, 2 votes separating Perks from player of the game.
How does it feel as a support player to know your place behind the AD carry?
I'll make it very clear, I have a very particular set of skills, so those 2 people out there who turned their back on Mickey, I will find you, because my man showed up. Now, I will give you that his R's sucked. He was really bad at death from below, but every other button he pushed was so good. The hooks were landing home,
the
Drakos, final 2 Phantom Undertows.
I've just heard word from production. The 2 people that voted
for
Perks was Vedius on the caster desk. So that's where it comes down to. That's your player of the game. Of course, it's G2. Let's turn our attention back to exceL Esports. That massive win was off the back of Expect's Baron steal. Now, I want to acknowledge that that was the final nail in the coffin.
It was a cherry on top is what it was.
Exactly. But the team as a whole, Froskurinn, just played really well all game long.
Yeah, it was one of the first Yasuo picks that we saw come out in the LEC Exile. One trick pulled it out in tandem with the Caedral's Gragas, and that's the Caedral's Gragas. And that's what I really want to focus in on, is I feel like the core of this team is that Exile finally got a jungler that will just camp his lane. And Caedral is so aggressive and finally looks exactly where he belongs.
And just the team as a whole is improving across the board. The synergy looks better, the individual members are looking better and more comfortable, and the rapid pace at which exceL is improving gives me a lot more confidence, because they've had a lot of close games, and now that they've been able to turn a close game into a win, I think they're going to be able to keep doing it.
I just have to say it, Caedral, not a great EU mid laner, but a phenomenal UK jungler.
I think it's a very good point, and it's a very good segue, Froskurinn, because it was Caedral that helped Schalke 04 qualify for the EU LCS. He was on that roster as the mid, then of course swapped to the jungle role last year, and let's say he didn't have the success he's finding in the 2019 season. Let's turn our attention over to Schalke 04, who are currently sitting in 2nd place in the standings. They continue to surge with a very impressive week-on-week performance and growth. And this is a team that I have consistently said I'm impressed with, because they had to completely rebuild and overhaul everything. But boy, oh boy, did they hit the ground running.
Absolutely did. And you have to remember that this team is completely new. It is not the vitality we saw last year, where it is bits and pieces of another lineup. It is not the Misfits lineup that we saw come out of Challenger or the Origin lineup. These guys have not played together. The only 2 members that have are Memento and Upset. So the fact that they've hit the ground running, that they are playing so well with so little scrim time leading into the split, is incredible.
And for me, it's the idea of kind of how they pass the baton and where they decide to carry. So you have Memento and IgNar, this roaming duo, and how proactive they are on the map in the early game. Then as soon as it comes to the grouping phase, they pass that baton on to Abbedagge and Odo, who are so good at setting up team fights. Abbedagge on the LeBlanc and Lissandra pulling the trigger, Odo finding these crazy flanks, and then finally late game, they hand it to Upset. Such a mechanical god to clean up the rest of the fights.
I mean, so much discussion on who the best AD carry is in Europe. Yesterday, we actually talked a lot on PGL with Attila around some of the competition there. But as you can see on your screen, this is Abbedagge, one of those hard carries for Schalke 04 stepping up. Now I'm going to turn to my analysts and say to you, how do we expect this game to play out? exceL, they continue to impress. They're still the underdogs, right? They were the underdogs yesterday. They were the underdogs last week against G2. And they've proved they can play with the big boys. But, you know, is this the same deal? Is Schalke still heavily favored?
The only concern that I have for exceL is actually in their bottom lane with Jeskla and kaSing. They just simply don't have the same consistency or the highs that you've seen from the rest of the map. And when you look across from Schalke, again, we just went through the entire roster and how it all works together in this finely tuned machine. So it just feels like kind of pound for talent when you look at all 5 members that you have to give the edge to Schalke.
Absolutely do. And I think when you look at the way that the bottom lane can play this on the Schalke lineup, they can draft for the early game, and I would expect them to smash that 2v2. 2v2. They can draft for the late game, and if IgNar is freed up to roam at any point, he is a terror across the map. You've seen sparks of brilliance like that from kaSing, but IgNar has been so incredibly consistent, so I think putting eyes on the bot lane is completely fair.
And it could just be that we need more footage and tape from Jeskla and kaSing and how it's going to work. I know that kaSing was really hard on himself after, I believe, their Splice loss.
Yep.
So the shot caller captain of that team trying to have that morale foundation. But Jeskla, I've seen a good Sivir game from him, but I'm still just very curious on where he fits in the whole ranking of LEC bot lanes.
I mean, I still feel similarly about exceL as an entire roster. I've seen so many glimpses of good moments, but there's been very, very high highs and very, very low lows for this roster, and it is still only week 3, day 2, right? So for exceL, they came in saying they're the underdogs, they came in saying the 10-man roster, they've proven they can fight with their 5-man, and we're still looking to see, you know, for these players to step up. Jeskla versus Upset. How much of a mismatch is this, Froskurinn? Because we've spoken about the guys individually, but now they're going to face off head-to-head.
I mean, frankly, it's always going to come down to matchup. It feels like Schalke will always give the priority at least to Upset versus where I think the priority is given to Caedral and Exile.
Okay.
So Jeskla may just be on the back foot simply because Schalke value their AD carry higher in draft.
I really, really like that. And of course, we are about to jump into draft. The teams are ready for picks and bans. Will we see exceL upset, or will Schalke continue their winning streak? Let's find out with Vedi.
That pun was dad-worthy. That was so bad.
Awful. For the record, we did not vote for Perks. We voted for Mickey. Just want to get that out on the table.
I did realize we should have voted for the blast cone.
Should have been an option.
Should have been an option. The sick man for G2. But next game up, exceL up against Schalke. exceL, of course, off the back of a huge win against Misfits yesterday, but Schalke took down Splice as well.
Yeah, they've actually, it's quite interesting now, because from a standings perspective, exceL are 2 and 3, Schalke are 4 and 1, which means that if Schalke win today, they keep the gap close between them and G2, fighting for a spot at the top of the standings, whereas if exceL can win, they're actually closing the gap between them and Schalke. So today's results really mean a lot in terms of how the next few weeks are going to play out, and exceL are doing what many didn't really expect them to do. They were rated as a D-tier team coming into the beginning of the split. The people didn't rate their players very highly, but this underdog squad has shown a lot so far, and the question is, will they be able to create another upset once again today? So we are immediately into Draft Medic. Run us through what we've got so far.
Well, exceL on the blue side, Schalke on the red, Lissandra, Lucian and Akali bans from exceL, Cassiopeia and Urga, all the power picks just getting removed here. I wonder what else we could see. So many options. I'd like to see Alistar bans. I think Alistar is just super strong as a support at the moment.
I feel like there are so many answers to him, though.
That's true. That's true.
Gragas has been one that's increased in popularity a lot. Morgana's another one. We saw the Pike picked earlier. So I think that there are ways in which you can deal with it. So I don't think it's the highest of priority. Aatrox, on the other hand, I do think is really strong. And I am surprised that Schalke would take away Cassio Cassio Urgot and Sion. It does mean that, having a look, what else is available? Aurelia is up, but that has really kind of fallen down in the priority list after some of the changes on the current patch. Sejuani is still available. Surprisingly, she wasn't even locked in earlier on in the day, but I do know that this is something that both junglers would be more than happy to grab for themselves.
We do see the Aatrox getting locked in for exceL. They took their time over that pick. I think it's the first time they've played Aatrox this split as well. Yeah, looking down, no one has played him on that side. Of course, can be flexed into the jungle. We saw that in the last games. Xerxes having an incredible amount of effect.
And mids, you know, he
and
can go kind of all over the shop.
That is true.
So it depends very much on. Usually, I think people prefer to put him in the mid lane. That's where he can generate the most pressure and power, I think. But something that Frost mentioned earlier on was that they do like to try and get upset a carry that he's comfortable on early in the draft. And there you see the Kai'Sa, champion that Upset has, funnily enough, had a lot of success on. Yep. Not only in the team fights, but also in the laning phase as well. And Abbedagge, or potentially Odoamne, we did see him play the Ryze. I believe it was in yesterday's game, or last week. It was one of the two.
He's actually the only player that's played Ryze on this team.
Yes, but it can be moved into the mid lane depending on where they want to put their matchup. But I would kind of expect this Ryze to go into the Aatrox if they can set that one up. But now immediately, we're actually going to see a Sivir pick. Yeah, this is something that we saw not too long ago.
Yesterday.
It was yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday in the Misfits game, it was on this same rotation with the Alistar as well.
So they're doing exactly the same thing.
Into a Kai'Sa as well. So yeah, it's obviously an exceL special, the Sivir Alistar answer to a Kai'Sa pick.
And I think they believe that they can force 5v5s more reliably. And I do think that the team fighting has been exceL's biggest strength. The laning phase for Jeskla and kaSing, though, has been a weak point. I think it's something that other teams have been able to build big advantages from. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw IgNar focus more on actually trying to win the 2 versus 2 rather than actually roam around the map. And remember, his Thresh is still up. I think it's a fine matchup into the Alistar, maybe not for playing aggressively, but in terms of disengage, I think it can still work. And I wouldn't actually be surprised if exceL looked to try and ban it away so that he doesn't have that comfort pick.
I actually quite like the Gragas support into the Alistar as well. You can interrupt the headbutt pulverize combo if you're quick enough with your body slam, so there's always that opportunity. We are into the second phase of bans though. Jace removed by exceL. Yasuo taken away from Schalke, by Schalke, because we saw exceL have such a good game on it yesterday in their win against Misfits. And I do wonder where we go with the next stage of pick ban here. It's interesting to see Schalke have so much success, having brought in Dylan Falco as their coach as well. I do want to give him some respect. We don't always talk about him, but he left Fnatic. Fnatic are now struggling, and the team he's joined is having an incredible amount of success.
Yeah, and Dylan Falco is a guy that seems to... I mean, he's been on a lot of successful teams. He played for Immortals before he came over to Europe, and then he played for Fnatic, and now he's working with, what is it, very successful, Schalke. So we'll see what he has planned for this draft. It looks like that we've seen a lot of mid laners actually taken off the board. Irelia and Yasuo with LeBlanc and Jace. Lissandra also gone. I wonder what's next in terms of priority.
But there are still things like the Gallet, right? Although he has been nerfed on 9.2, you can still play it. Zoe is always a pocket pick for exceL if he wants to go towards that. Instead, we're going to see the Kennen. Expect to see that up towards the top lane for Odoamne. He's played it twice already. Usually get some very good flanking positions on that champion. And then we'll see Abbedagge play the Ryze in mid.
Yeah, thinking about what could actually be, because typically the answers to things like a Ryze would be something like a Casio. We did see the LeBlanc picked earlier in the day. I wonder what exceL has in his bag of tricks, because all these big picks that you would typically choose into it have been banned. So he could go for the Aatrox into the mid lane Ryze, and then they could put something else into the Kennen top. So maybe something like a Victor for Expect in the top lane. We also saw him play Rumble. I don't know if that's... I don't think you want to play that into a Kennen, but... They could also do something like an Ornn, maybe something a little tanky, maybe a little bit more engaged.
I feel no matter where you put this Aatrox, either into Ryze or Kennen, it doesn't feel like a good matchup for me. So they're going to accept that it goes into the Ryze in the mid lane. Rumble going up towards top, we assume, which will play into the Kennen. And now probably looking towards what I think is going to be a jungle pick here for Schalke. But of course, they do have the option of playing Gragas jungle and then picking their support here.
I agree with you, Manic. You talked a little bit about it earlier. The Gragas pick is quite nice into the Alistar. I believe we saw IgNar play it before as well. And it's a champion that I'm sure he's quite comfortable on. And there we are, the jungler that you talked about early game. Very typical for Memento. Something that he loves to play, something that he played a lot on last year when he played for Roccat. I'm just kind of looking at some of the lanes. I think bot lane is the lane that I'd like to see him try and play around. I think that it's not necessarily due to the matchup, just that exceL's bot lane has been shown to be weak during the laning phase, and a lane that you can exploit. And I think that if you just leverage the fact that IgNar is on this Gragas and can set up some pretty solid plays, then you could look to try and build advantage on that side of the map. Whereas for exceL, I'd actually like to see them invest resources into the Rumble, make that Kennen matchup a lot less deadly than it potentially could be. And let's not forget that yesterday, when we saw Expect play into Soaz's Kennen, they shut that down very, very effectively, and Soaz really struggled to have an impact in the game. So perhaps exceL will look to try and play towards the top side of the map, while Schalke, I hope, tries to play through the bot side of the map.
I'll keep our eyes peeled for those jungle pathing. Of course, Soaz not having an impact in those late game teamfights was very much down to kaSing on the Alistar as well. Had great zoning potential of that. Kennen could just stand in his way whenever he tries to get an engage off. So I'm sure that is what exceL will be wanting to do today. Both teams coming off the back of a good win on day one here in week 3. We want to continue those winning ways. I do believe actually if Schalke win this game, it's their 4th win in a row, matching obviously G2 ahead at 6 wins in a row, and Vitality took their 4th win in a row yesterday as well.
No, I don't think it is, because Schalke won their day 1 games.
They won 1, they then lost 1, and then they've won 1-1, and if they win this, it would be their 4th win in a row.
Right. Yeah, there you go. You can math.
I can do the math, not good numbers things. You know what else I can do, Vedius?
What can you do?
I can say welcome to Summoner's Rift as Schalke and exceL play in our second match of the day. It's going to be a good one. I feel it in my bones.
Feels it in his bones.
Please don't say.
I don't know why this is a song, but it is now. Sorry, I'm just writing down the draft. Right, I've got that now. I'm ready to talk about League of Legends.
Okay, what do you want to talk about? Because you said you want to see exceL play up towards the top side of the map. How do they do that?
By ganking it, man.
Cool.
So the thing about Kennen matchups is he's really annoying during the laning phase. You'll notice that he is running the Doran's Blade and he has the Kleptomancy rune. So for those that may not be familiar with the Kennen matchup, he is a ranged matchup into a melee matchup. And when he specs his W, he can get a lot of obnoxious harass off. Especially when once he's hit you for a 5th time, his next auto will apply a passive stack. I forget the name of it. But you can then use your W ability to then proc it, which means that you get bonus damage on top of that. And if you get 3 of those, you can stun them. And basically against melee matchups, it's really annoying. So you can generate a lot of gold by just having a range advantage, and it means that you get to these item spikes way sooner. So things like the Proto Belt, the Zhonya's, you can get much earlier in the game, the longer that you can keep the laning phase going, which is why you kind of want to try and shut it down. Because what you don't want is a well-farmed Kennen coming into the mid game with 2 items, because then he like kills everything. He's very, very effective, not only in a side lane, but also in these team fights. And this will be a rough matchup for exceL, so we want to see some kind of involvement of Caedral to mitigate the pressure that Odoamne will be able to exert.
I'm actually going to ask our observers quickly just to look at the gold differences, because I know it's very early in the game, but you already see what that Kleptomancy does, right? Everyone's basically even on CS, and you have 140 gold lead on the Kennen over exceL. So this is what Kleptomancy does, and this is the reason it's so effective on a top laner.
And so one of my favorite things about Kennen that is like my fun fact is that his E actually gives you defenses when you're in it. So when you use the E, you're actually a lot tankier than you typically are, which a lot of people don't expect.
Level 2 advantage for IgNar, and upset down towards this bottom side means that they are able just to force a Jeskla and kaSing away. Jeskla and kaSing gave Caedral a little bit of a hand, so IgNar just stands there, he's like, okay, I'm gonna put my fat body in the way of this minion wave. But eventually, Jeskla and kaSing will hit level 2 and they'll be okay for the time being. Memento is on the top side of the map, but there's a ward spotting him out on this Scuttle Crab, so don't expect to get ganked.
Come on, we do it every game. But the problem is I use expect as a word just so many times. Do you have any like other words?
Anticipate.
Oh, okay, that's the word. We're going to use anticipate.
Yeah, but we're going to use it every single time now.
It's better than using the pun, medic.
Okay.
So, I anticipate the bot lane for exceL to be struggling in these early laning stages, largely because with IgNar on the Gragas, you have the extra bit of wave clear with the barrel, and upset on the Kai'Sa, while she does typically have less clear than a Sivir does, she can't really generate that much pressure until later on. So now, Memento has found Caedral.
Spike comes down from Caedral, he'll get the blue buff. Memento will be on the chase here, flash away from Caedral, but the chase is good for Memento. Waited on the sweep, gets him under the tower. Memento, one more shot. Is it enough? It is! 1-for-1 trade, but first blood to Schalke.
But that was both junglers investing their flashes. Memento, I feel, overcommitted. He didn't need to go for that dive because he'd already gotten the flash out from Caedral, and in the event that he met him in a 2v2 later on, that would have resulted in a kill. Now, the advantage Memento had here was he has more health, he is full on mana, and Caedral is just forced to run away. And I think he was expecting the stun to come out sooner. Really good patience there coming out from Memento, but I like the response from Caedral. The last second, he lands the slow from his undertow, is able to proc the E as well, even gets a bit of lifesteal off the back of his W, but then can't quite get away with his life. So it ends up just being a 1-for-1.
But a gold lead already for Schalke as well, about 800 gold ahead. You've got a 10 CS lead in the bottom lane, you've got a 15 CS lead in the mid lane as well, and everything is coming up daisies for the Schalke Null Fear lineup. I'm interested about Abbedagge going for the phase rush. It's more commonly what we see on the Ryze in the mid lane, and I guess he doesn't expect Exile to jump onto him too much.
But he needs to be aware that Memento is hanging around. IgNar is also making his way up through the river, but he has been spotted. exile's got to feel that something is amiss here.
Still has Flash, still has Ignite. They're going to force him off the tower. We talked a lot about how those turret placings are important, and if you can just get a little bit more chip damage, you do work your way towards that first plate. With the push potential, push pressure that Abbedagge has in the mid lane, they just thought, well, maybe we can make something work.
Abbedagge is doing a great job in the mid lane, though. You already mentioned the CS earlier on, and you talked a little bit about the phase rush, but something you said in draft was that regardless of where the Aatrox goes, he's going to have a rough time in the laning phase, and it feels like Schalke, they prepared for it. We saw them ban away the Scion and left the Aatrox open, and they've clearly come in with a plan, and right now they are executing upon it perfectly. So exceL struggling in the mid lane, struggling down towards the bot, and surprisingly, exceL actually holding his own up against Odoamne towards the top side. And typically that would be a much more difficult matchup, but he's doing fine. I think maybe he's showing a little bit more respect because Memento is spending a lot more of his jungle time towards the bot side of the map and the enemy jungle, of course.
Yeah. But it looks like through pushing out the bottom lane, they will just be able to go for this Ocean Dragon. Schalke with the early advantages, and Caedral looking for a gank. Odoamne, level 6 now, has the Slicing Maelstrom. Caedral
will not find it.
Waiting around the corner.
If Odoamne uses his E, that's the opportunity to go.
Hasn't used it yet. There's the Equalizer E flash. Do get the Summoner out.
Yep, which means you can set up for a play later on, but Odoamne still has his ultimate, so it won't be extremely easy. For the time being, though, you kind of look at this whole composition from Schalke. They have a pretty solid 1-3-1. Their team fighting is also can be effective because you have the Kai'Sa, one of the best team fighters in the game, thanks to her mobility. You also have the Camille Kennen combo, very, very effective. And there's the Gragas ultimate to split apart exceL. And also, when exceL don't actually have that much hard crowd control, it can be challenging for them to actually reliably keep Schalke in place to kind of find all that area of effect damage that the Sivir will want to pull off. So I do think that Schalke do have good scaling, but at the same time, the Sivir obviously scales very well into the late game. Aatrox, on this patch, his late game did get hurt a little bit, and I do think that Rumble's damage is much harder to execute the later into the game that you go. So I think that exceL have a slightly stronger spike with their solo laners around the mid game, but again, like, they're always going to be valuable in the late game. But I just look at Schalke's comp, and I think exceL are in a bit of a timer, and I think it's going to be really difficult for exceL to really win the late game fight. So I'm looking at them to try and force something a little bit more towards the earlier mid game.
And whenever you look at someone to force something for exceL, you have to turn your eyes towards Caedral. This jungler has been the spark, the ignition for exceL in every single one of their games. 100% kill participation at 15 minutes. Nothing happens without his say-so on the map. Second in kills and assists at 15 minutes amongst junglers as well, and he does it when he doesn't even spend that much time around his lane. It's actually quite low down in terms of jungle proximity, which means when he does gank, it's usually effective.
Yeah, so he's not like one of these junglers that just ganks. Like, Maxor is someone that has regular jungle activity in the early game, but for Caedral, he just tries to be a lot more effective, efficient with his gank styles. Now, remember we talked about earlier, Medic, I want to see the jungler invest bot side.
Straight into it, the stun lock comes out, Jeskla's done.
And these are the kind of ganks I wanted to see. The wave was stacked underneath the tower of Schalke. exceL had no vision in the river, which means that they ended up getting punished. Now we see a fight in the mid lane.
So Abbedagge will be fine here. Forces exceL back for the moment, and nothing really going there. But still that 30 CS lead for the German mid laner, the rookie mid that we talked about at the top of the show. I told you guys, keep your eyes on him. And that is exactly where you should be focusing throughout this game. Because if he hits 2-item, 3-item Ryze, he's going to be a machine gun of damage for Schalke 04. Where do you want to go, Vedi?
Well, I'm just keeping my eyes on what the supports are doing right now, because I'm expecting a lot of action in the mid lane. Here comes Caedral.
Chains did not connect. Abbedagge flashes away. Don't land the slow from the undertow, and IgNar will come up as well. But it was a flash burnt from Abbedagge, which means that exceL and Caedral can try to do something again if they want. IgNar still staying around here. Camille, Memento just up towards the top side of this fight, actually. Moving between the two lanes right now. There we go. Abbedagge locked up. Infernal Chains comes down, and kaSing flashes in, and Abbedagge is done for. And now IgNar not in the best of shapes because he hasn't got his flash. Burn it earlier, knocked back by kaSing. Looking for the body slam across the wall, lands the slow. exceL jumps forward though, and the Darking Blade connects. I have to think, yeah. IgNar's just going to continually run back towards his base, but kaSing and Caedral should have the chase here. IgNar not going to get to the blast in time. It's on the wrong side of it. kaSing will have the stun, and the Gragas will go down. Good stuff from exceL there to get 2 kills in the mid lane.
So I like the fact that exceL double down on the mid lane play. They get the flash out from Abbedagge initially. They know that they have vision control over the top side, and with the flash in from kaSing, the crowd controlled combo of Alistar and the E from Aatrox means that they can actually lock him down for long enough to find the kill. And then obviously the chase comes out from IgNar, but it does mean that some of the pressure gets alleviated from exceL. he will be able to get a bit of gold back in his pocket, and he'll be able to pick up a little bit more farm now that the Ryze is dead. So they've closed the gold gap a little bit, but
It's still pretty big.
it's still pretty big.
It's about 1,500 gold between the two teams, and if we press X, a lot of that is sitting on that AD carry. 700 gold difference. Upset, once again, showing his strength not only in the laning phase, but just about getting ahead of his opponent.
But let's not forget what we talked about, Medic, with regards to the top side of the map. Odoamne with the Kleptomancy, he's just built himself up a 700 gold lead, which is arguably the biggest in the game, just from his Kleptomancy. And this is what we said. This is why this rune is very effective when he can just sit in lane and free farm, because he gets those items much earlier in the game, which means that he's going to be much more relevant earlier in the game. And that's a scary point for exceL, which is kind of why I wanted to see them invest a little more towards the top side of the map. But Odoamne, he's a happy camper right now.
Definitely is. And we have to see how exceL deal with being on this timer. IgNar getting some wards in here. It's the second dragon of the game. Only 11 minutes in. Schalke took the first one very quickly last time. Caedral pops the Undertow across the wall. Will realize Schalke are doing it and doesn't really have a way to react. So double Ocean makes it even easier for Upset, for Abbedagge, and for Odoamne to stay in these lanes. Just elongates that laning phase for them if they want to. Because of the extra regeneration you get, you don't have to back as often.
Slow and steady is the game right now, Medic.
I mean, that's what we saw from exceL yesterday as well, but exceL's trying to do something about that. Abbedagge can't get away, and exceL gets his first kill of the game. Once again, a good gank from Caedral right at the right time, and they'll get some turret placings down here as well. kaSing with Demolish will only help speed that up.
Ooh, exceL going to be picking up some nice gold from the turret plating. But also finding another kill onto Abbedagge will help continue to close the gap, and now expect actually going all in onto Odo.
Odo still has flash here, but we'll just use the Slicing Maelstrom for the time being. Gets the stun off, and that's what the Mark of the Storm can do, of course. That Kennen passive just stuns him up. Ends up being an ult for ult. Odo will back away, and I wonder if they're going to try and use a teleport advantage here. Will Odo TP back into the lane? If he does, will except then have to TP himself. There's the teleport. Will except have to burn his TP here, because if not, they have that window of opportunity that exceL will want to stop themselves from running down the clock.
I think you'll just TP back to lane,
Yeah.
personally. I don't think you can afford to give turret plating gold over to...
Oh, now he definitely has to TP back to lane.
Yeah. You can't afford to give that solo turret plating gold to your opposition. If you walk all the way back with a wave just stopping here, then you're guaranteed to give it away. So I think he has to. Now, Odo did take 2 tower shots, which means... Oh, I thought he might have TP'd to a minion. So he could have kept the wave there, but he doesn't. Not going to happen.
You know, I played Rumble in Ultra Rapid Fire.
Yeah.
Not the best. Not the best. You don't have a dash, and it's a bit difficult. exceL in a bit of a difficult situation here as well. Put in the Hextech ultimatum, but Memento and Abbedagge just going to back away, respecting the fact that Caedral was there and the fact that World Ender was popped by the exceL mid laner.
Yeah, I think Schalke didn't have enough information on where the rest of exceL were, so they decided not to overcommit and instead decided to back off. They still got the Ignite out from exceL, will reduce some of his skill pressure.
And a turret plate on Abbedagge, which is always very helpful. With that 25 CS lead as well. Although he's died twice, he is actually even in gold in that mid lane, which is always a helpful thing to do, to be with the Ryze. Has that tier stacking up, has, looks like Ninja Tabis as well in his back pocket. Just knows there's a lot of attack damage, a lot of AD on the side of exceL. Really only expect doing any magic damage at all.
He also wants it for the 1v1 matchup because exceL really does hurt, especially once he completes his first item. But turret plates are nearly down on the bot side. Schalke taking their time, even though exceL have the kill advantage. Again, we already talked about it. The CS, the turret plating, everything is what is allowing Schalke to have such a significant lead in the early game. And they're just scaling up. They're happy. They've got the tier slowly building for Abbedagge. Odoamne has already completed the proto belt. And Schalke are just fine and comfortable.
Yeah.
Taking their time.
I mean, exceL seem pretty comfortable at the moment as well. They get the Rift Herald, they can then use that to maybe force down mid. Turret placing's just fallen off, so Upset and IgNar, even though they get the first tower, don't get the entirety of that placing. There's the Rift Herald used mid. Abbedagge actually was rotating down towards the bottom lane, so this should just be a tower going over in exchange for exceL. And it means that we'll see about a 2,500, 3,000 gold difference between these teams after that tower goes down. Rift Herald gets another charge in, which is always a bonus when you can get it through. Abbedagge unable to keep it from tunneling its way towards that tower. So Vedius.
Some of the questions I get asked as a caster is like, when you look at compositions, how do you identify which one is the stronger one of the late game, early game, etc., etc. And one of my strategies is thinking about who offers more at what point in the game. And I look at someone like an Aatrox versus a Ryze, and I think to myself, okay, let's just say they were to 1v1, who would I put my money on? And because of the mobility and the shields and the damage that a Ryze has, to me, I think the Ryze would be more valuable in the late game. Right, so that's one reason why maybe he would scale a little bit.
It's a 1v1 at full items, I see.
Yeah, well, like 4, 5, like that point in the game. Even at this point, I still feel the Ryze would have an advantage, mainly because he wouldn't actually just get up close and personal.
Yeah, you just lock him in place and run away.
And then run away, right? So I feel like that Ryze is just a very good pick into the Aatrox. So just in terms of scaling, I think, okay, yes. But then, you kind of look at this comp from exceL and you think, but we all know that Sivir scales really well, so surely that'll counterbalance it. But the problem with that is you just then have to look at how she works in a late game environment, and that's around team fighting. And typically what she wants is a big front line to play around, which she unfortunately doesn't really have. And I think we're actually going to get an example of this 1v1 right now, and you'll see that Abbedagge just kind of dances around.
Runs away.
Keep him locked down, but he's buying time for his jungler to arrive. And you can actually see it's really difficult for exceL to commit.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what happens in that situation. But this is why I'm kind of skeptical of exceL scaling, because I think that it's way harder for Sivir to leverage her late game power compared to someone like the Kai'Sa, who independently is strong in the late game. If you just give her 3 items, then regardless of what her team comp is, she can offer a lot of value, because she can dive onto the back line, she can just kill the front line, she's a very strong duelist, and overall she's just a little bit more all-encompassing as a late-game hyper carry versus Sivir, who's very reliant on hitting as many people as possible with her skills once she's got all of the items done. So that's why I'm a little concerned right now for exceL, that the game is slowing down, and I just kind of want to see them be a little more proactive right now. But again, it's hard because they are at such a big goal deficit. They haven't even completed a lot of their first core items, so if they try to fight now, they're probably going to lose anyway.
Just because you're behind in terms of itemization. Yesterday, exceL, of course, had the Urgot on the front line. It was expeC who piloted that one and got them the Baron steal that really got them back in the game. I think
I'd be careful to say back in the game, because they did have a lot of control.
Yeah.
I think that's solidified.
They solidified the game.
Yes.
Okay, I will agree with you there. I think the bonus for exceL when I look at the Schalke composition is there aren't any real tanks on that side either. So if Jeskla has the opportunity as a 3-item Sivir to get a couple of ricochet bounces off,
that's a good point.
You are going to shred through that line, right?
Good point, yeah.
But there's so many different ways he could get caught out. Slicing Maelstrom, Hextech Ultimatum, the Gragas barrel as well, the explosive cast, even upset just jumping onto the backline, which we've seen him do in team fights before. So.
And that's the other thing to think about with like late game team fights as well and scaling. How many damage dealers do you actually have, right? And for exceL, they have 3. Right, with Aatrox, Rumble, and the,
I've seen an Alistar put out a fair chunk of damage.
I have seen Alistar's 1v1 AD carries, that's true. Ooh, Abbedagge could be in some danger right now.
Memento's here, there's the Realm Warp as well, and Caedral exceL, like, okay.
Still just buying time on the side of Schalke. They don't need to overcommit for anything. They're still relying on their scaling. But yeah, wait, I was saying something now. Please.
You're talking about the 3 damage dealers on exceL.
Yes, but the same can be said for Schalke, right? They have the Kennen, they have the Ryze, and then they have the Kai'Sa as well. Yeah. So I think they're pretty even in terms of damage, but I just think that with more items, Schalke do more damage. So I'm concerned right now for exceL. I think that they're not being proactive enough to leverage the composition that they have.
But I think if you're Schalke, you're pretty happy with the way the game's going.
Yeah,
you played the game, you played a good early game, without taking too many risks, just by farming up well and outplaying your opponents. You are about 4,000 gold ahead. Flashes away here from expeC. Odoamne on the chase. There's upset jumping across the wall as well. Enough damage comes out from upset to... Red carpet comes down as well, but upset will survive. It's a good play from Schalke, rotating down towards the bottom side of the map.
I'm surprised that they invested so much to get that kill. That was 3 summoner spells burnt and 2 ultimates. But if they can convert it into another objective, it might be worth. But right now, it doesn't look like they can actually get much from it. They'll steal a couple of enemy jungle camps. They'll get a bit of deep vision down. And Abbedagge is down to 1v2.
World Ender used by exceL. There's the Infernal Chains as well. exceL's just going to tank this one up for quite a while. Abbedagge just outplays them. Outplays them entirely in the 1v2. Predator's going to be popped here by Caedral to run away. And exceL unable to do something in response to that Schalke play.
That's another summoner spell used from the side of Schalke. Odoamne burnt his teleport in order to help his mid laner when I don't think he actually needed it. So that's now a big global cooldown that's going to be left unavailable. And I just think it's that, like, why are they making this play right? That's what I'm thinking. And I see that they're trying to kill expeC, and I think their next goal is to convert this into a tower, but except has what looks to be like the rune that gives you a magic shield as well, which mitigates some of the damage, forcing Upset to actually dive underneath the tower. He takes 2 tower shots, and now he's not confident enough to stick to it. So because of except buying enough time, Schalke don't actually have the resources to then commit to the tower, so they can't convert it into any objectives. So a lot of was burnt for very little gain, which should slow the game down. But again, that's not the end of the world for Schalke, who is still trying to scale up.
Not at all. Anyone wondering at home, it's Nullifying All is the name
That's the
of
name,
that rune. It's
That's the Badger.
I believe it's in the first stage of the...
Yes, tier 1.
Yeah, tier 1 on the left. I don't know why I know that. It's Earth. It's Earth, because you can't take either of the other two, but engage happens in the mid lane. exceL caught out. Memento dunks him into the Hextech Odoamne. Now kaSing is on that front line. That's a great equalizer across the mall. Memento goes golden, flashes away. The teleport coming in as well as Abbedagge wants to join the fight. Slicing Maelstrom doesn't catch on to expect, but the Mark of the Storm does. Now Upset jumps forward as well. Jeskla low on the backline, down to half. 2 kills for Schalke and the Baron in their sights.
Good fight there for Schalke. They find a quick pick onto exceL. Wasn't sure if his ultimate was available, but he definitely never had an opportunity to use it. Schalke setting a trap right now, seeing if they can find another pick onto exceL, but exceL do have that ward sitting outside the pit. They will be spotted. The Baron has been started. Very early Baron into the game. Caedral still alive though, has the flash, has the blast cone to try and steal this one away.
Will we see a blast cone change the impact of a game once again? Caedral looking for it. Realm Warp comes out. Schalke on the chase. They're stunned up. They don't take the Realm Warp. Caedral doesn't get in though. The Baron goes down. And secured by Schalke. And exceL just run away. Unable to do anything quite yet. kaSing on the flank here. The blast cone used by IgNar, and exceL just can't quite find an avenue to attack onto that. Good play from Schalke to get the Baron and get out.
So they will convert this. Never mind, no they won't. Odoamne gets there in time, but a very early Baron for Schalke. Now remember that the Baron changes on this patch mean that the minions aren't as strong as they used to be. It's a little harder to end the game from a Baron at 22 minutes than it used to be. But still a very big gold advantage, and it will allow them to, at the very least, break even further into the base of exceL.
Yeah, I mean, that's a 6,000 gold advantage, and it's displaying itself in terms of itemization as well. Look at that, 2,000 between the two AD carries. You already have Ginsu's and the Storm Razor complete on that Kai'Sa. You've got the Seraphs, Oblivion Orb on Abbedagge, Spellbinder on Odoamne, which I really like as well. The ability to get into that backline just that little bit quicker can totally change a team fight. And we're not looking at 3-item Sivir yet. We're looking at 2 items. When she gets that third, when she gets that Infinity Edge, maybe exceL will have a chance to turn this game around, but maybe it'll be too late.
Yeah, and this is a weird thing about exceL, right? They have those really tense games against the likes of G2 and Misfits, and then the day after, they just seem to just slow down dramatically.
Where's the consistency?
Yeah, I think that's a good word, Medic. They don't seem to be as consistent. I was expecting a little bit more, but so far they have played it very slow. We've seen a couple ganks from Caedral in the mid lane, unfortunately not converted into much, and now Schalke are playing the 1-through-1. We talked that they did have this option available to them. While their team fighting is good, they also just have strong solo laners that can move off to a side lane, and because of how strong they are at this point in the game with the Baron buff, it's a lot more efficient to actually just attack multiple sides of the map.
Expect dealing with Abbedagge in the bottom lane. Well, I say dealing, trying to hold him off, trying to stem that tide down towards that bottom side. He's plugging the dam as much as he can, but both towers in the side lanes fall, and it's a 10,000 gold lead now for Schalke. IgNar can just stand right next to this tower. The cannon waves, of course, spawning more often since the 9.1 changes just makes it so easy for Schalke to slowly close out this game.
Chipping and chipping. Slow, steady, calm, calculated play coming out from Schalke. They don't need to take any gambles or big risks. Working their way into the base. exceL 2 levels below Abbedagge. You can see kaSing looking for something. There is no wave right now in mid. 2 members of Schalke bot just slowly moving around the map.
And the threat is always there of Memento just jumping onto you as well. Like, all it takes is a good flank from Odoamne or Memento with a Hextech Odoamne when you're locked in this electric cage of doom. And there's not really much you can do about it. It's my name for the slicing Maelstrom and Hextech Odoamne.
I tried to not...
Try to ignore it, I understand.
That's quite, you know, cringe, and that's not really my jam.
Nah, that's true. You're much more serious in terms of casting. Abbedagge very serious about doing the damage here to exceL. kaSing here just to try and hold him off, but I have to think exceL need to do something. Have to pull the trigger, have to make a play, because otherwise Schalke will just slowly eke the life out of this game. Baron buff has fallen off, or is about to fall off, I believe. For the time being, we will just reset Didn't break any inhibitors. That is the one thing you can say to the exceL fans.
Right side.
Inhibitors are not dead yet. You still have them. But you are 10,000 gold in the hole, and now you're looking at 3 items complete on that Kai'Sa as well. Next steps you have to think. Infernal Dragon?
Well, the Baron spawns much quicker than it used to.
It's true.
So I imagine that Schalke will actually just wait for that, because again, scaling is on their side. They don't really have to rush anything. If exceL's next best opportunity will be to try and fight around the Baron pit, but they have no vision in their half of the jungle, and they can't really leave their base to get it. So Schalke are just suffocating exceL right now, and they'll force them into this situation where they'll either fight them in this choke point where the Ryze and the Kennen can run rampant, or that Schalke will just secure the Baron. So exceL very limited in terms of their options right now. Ideally, if they can find a pick or kind of punish a mistake from Schalke, is their next best bet.
I think you have to do it pretty soon as well. Abbedagge not quite pushed in that bottom lane completely, doesn't have the teleport either, so you do have a small opportunity here to make a play, but Schalke willing just to step back, willing just to wait it out. And when you have all 3 lanes pushing in, there's basically nothing exceL can do.
Yeah, so like, unfortunately,
unfortunately,
there's not a lot more to say, so I'm just trying to hum for the viewers, you know?
Okay.
What, name the song?
I'm pretty sure that's Shake It Off by Taylor Swift.
No, it's not. That's...
Isn't that the Macarena?
No. Oh, okay, so now you're just getting me to hum what you want me to hum.
No, I'd never do that, Vedius.
Are you manipulating me, medic?
For the last 2 years.
I've been growing you into my little pawn. Thank you, I appreciate your humming applause. I've been working on it my entire life for this one moment. My mother didn't believe me.
That was also not humming. Humming is You have to have your mouth closed.
Oh, there's a fight!
There's a fight in the bottom end. exceL pops the world ender. Infernal Chase as well as Odoamne maybe engage the fight. Upset here. The world ender resurrection passive is going to time out in just a second, and exceL was just knocked back into the wall. Easy enough kill for Schalke. And that is enough action for now.
Let's calm down! There's been too much action this game. It's just, you know, we had G2 versus Splice, which was like intense. And then we've got this just calm, calculated, slow play from Schalke v exceL.
I was actually going to go camping last game because it was so intense.
Wait, there's a joke there. Nope, can't get it. Anyway, Dragon will go in favor of Schalke. The Baron has just spawned. I'm glad you're entertaining yourself. I hope the audience found it funny.
I didn't just hum on casts. I think I'm good for the moment. Okay, let's get back on
Baron
screen.
Is alive
Baron
now.
is alive. Okay.
Baron is alive. So you can see the no deep vision has been set up, but Schalke don't really need it because they're keeping Odoamne down towards the bot side, and the Baron pit itself is dark. Now Caedral is hanging around while IgNar clears some vision, but if he face checks by himself, he might die. And this Baron is going to go down before he can even get close enough anyway.
Well, you either man up, you die trying, and he doesn't get the Baron secured by Memento. He's going to fall after it, and he does die, doesn't get the Baron, and now Schalke will just look for the push in. 40 seconds left on Caedral. You can just split the lanes if you want to. You can all barrel down mid. Schalke can pretty much have it any way they want it.
Yeah, 15,000 is the gold lead for Schalke. There are no options left for exceL, I'm going to quite confidently say. And it's just a matter of time now.
Oh, IgNar flashed in a straight line there. Get a lot of damage down onto IgNar. He goes into the stopwatch, but eventually will fall. And now exceL actually have a man advantage in about 16 seconds time. Memento and Upset getting this mid lane tower upset. Chased out here by exceL, pops the killer instinct, but exceL still on the oh my god! Okay, yeah, that's a late game Kai'Sa. I can see why you were worried about the scaling for exceL. Schalke are going to get the inhibit in the top lane. They get bot as well. They will go towards the mid lane, and you have to think in the 4v4, which is about to commence, Schalke will come out on top.
So it's just a matter of time now. They're sieging onto those Nexus towers. 4 versus 4. exceL is gone. It's a level 16 Kai'Sa, level 17 Ryze. They're just waiting for the minion waves to arrive. Odoamne even has his ultimate available. Will they go for the dive? Will they go for kills?
Odoamne chased off by kaSing down towards the bottom side. He uses the lightning rush to get away. That's the first Nexus tower down. Upset stepping forward, and this should just be the game for Schalke. They force exceL back towards their fountain. And with their 4th win in a row, Schalke solidify themselves at the top of the... I'm going to do it again, though. Their 4th win in a row. Schalke solidify themselves at the top of the LEC.
They're right behind G2. I think they had a really strong draft. I think they prepared perfectly for exceL. I think that we saw Xpect's top pool perhaps exposed a little bit in terms of options.
I agree with that.
We'll have to see how that develops throughout the rest of the split, but can't really fault Schalke. They played everything extremely well. The only criticism you can have is that Abbedagge died in the mid lane, but when 3 members come within 3 times within like 5 minutes, you know, that's a fine loss to have, and he still maintained a gold lead.
I mean, he had 93 CS ahead by the end of the day. He was in a pretty strong spot. Give a lot of credit down towards Upset and IgNar as well in that bottom lane. We said that the bottom lane of exceL was probably a weakness you could expose. They definitely did that.
Yep.
And across the board, just Schalke looking strong. This is the sort of win where, although perhaps slightly anticlimactic for Schalke fans because it was so well coordinated, this is the sort of win that puts you on the podium at the end of the year. You have to get these consistent wins.
This actually says a lot to me in terms of how our whole league looks, because I actually think exceL is this very solid team that kind of rests in the middle of the pack, and teams that can cleanly beat them, I think, distinguish themselves as one of the better teams in Europe. And I think that we saw that from Schalke.
Yep.
And I think we saw it also as well last week versus Splice as well. And I just think that when teams struggle against exceL, you've got to bring into question, like, what do they actually show? Because exceL have proven that if they can get to the late game on even footing, then they'll fight you, they'll challenge you, they have some promising stuff. But if you can just slowly deconstruct them, so far I haven't really been able to find any answers to get out of it.
Definitely agree with you there, Vedius. Schalke, very happy with their win. I think, considering they've only lost to G2 so far,
Things are great for them.
and they beat Vitality, although it was week 1, day 1 Vitality, I think I would happily put them in my top 3.
I'm curious as to, wait, has Schalke beaten Misfits yet?
I do not believe so. Let me continue to talk while I do not look up our schedule and check to see if they... I don't think so, Vedius, because it's the first game of next week, which I knew off the top of my head.
Next week, wow.
I knew off the top of my head.
That's actually a really exciting one.
I think it's exciting if Misfits start playing through bot lane again. Because if Misfits play like they did yesterday...
No, but I think so. A lot of people, you know, have some question marks around how strong actually Misfits are, you know, losing to exceL. Some of the teams that they beat at the beginning of the split are now on the bottom end of our table, and going up against Schalke, who I think are quite convincingly top 3 alongside Vitality and G2.
I agree with that.
You know, if Misfits want to convince everyone that they are still a top 3 team in Europe, and they're fighting for that top spot, then I think they need to get a win over Schalke. So yeah, we've got some really exciting games going up next week, but we still have more action left in the day with 3 games left.
Yeah, there's some great ones as well. SKOG is going to be pretty good. Rogue Vitality could be interesting. Misfits Fnatic, the Bwipo Soaz rivalry to end out the day as well.
That's going to be a good one as well.
Yeah, it definitely is.
But yeah, not the most exciting game, I'll be honest.
But it was exciting because we got to listen to Hum.
I mean,
and you didn't remember what the word hum meant. And you even started off by singing as we went on to this. Like, it was a very musically inclined Vedius today. Do we need a new, like, we've got Flexius, we've got Detective Vedius. Have you got another cousin?
Like,
have you got another cousin who does music?
Maybe.
Musicus?
I have a large family.
Sounds like an old gladiator.
Are you not entertained by my music? All right, we're getting goofy now.
Yeah.
All right. This is normally when we do the player of the game vote, but we haven't been given the player of the game vote yet. Who would your player of the game vote be?
This is why they let me do it, because I wait until they give us the signal, and then I do it, Vedius. But for now, I think we can talk a little bit about maybe the next steps for Schalke, because they look very strong in this game. It was a convincing win against exceL. But is there anything you think they need to clean up in their game? You think it was perfect?
Really good game.
Okay.
That was a very good League of Legends.
But generally, not just off this game, is there anything that you think maybe that's a weakness for Schalke?
So far, no. I like their drafts. I like their flexibility. I like Schalke. I think they're a really good team.
Do you want to read it?
Yes, so we want to know who you think should be key player of the game. So hit us up on LOL Esports on Twitter with your pick of Odoamne, Memento, and Upset. Now, I think you could have mentioned everyone in this team. I think those are 3 great options. But yeah.
You could have.
Throw it, medic.
I'm going to throw it. We've got Laure standing by with Odoamne, and let's see what he has to say.
Thank you very much, guys, and thank you, Odo, for joining me. You were looking so serious, even though you won. What happened in the end?
I mean, I just go hard into it because everyone was like, okay, guys, let's just farm some damage and stuff. and then I went a bit too deep, and I was like, okay, guys, just please end the game so I can save my KDA, and everyone just started screaming, no, just let him die. So, I don't know, everyone just...
Oh no.
Yikes.
Bad teammates. I mean, even then, you're ending this third week on 5-1. Did you expect to be that good?
I expected us to be kind of good because all of us, the players, are really aggressive and really good, and all of us want to, you know, just brawl and skirmish a lot. So I think the way the meta is right now kind of favors us a lot. But I didn't really expect us to be, you know, kind of at the top of the standings. I expected us to be like, you know, good, maybe in like top 4, top 5. But I didn't expect us to have like such a good week. But then again, I think we only had one really hard opponent in G2. And next week we have Misfits and Origin. So if you manage to go 2-0 in that week, then that's something I'll be like happy with. You know, then we can start talking about Schalke being a contender for everything.
We'll get back to this one right after, but you were mentioning the meta and how it fits you. You've been playing Kennen 3 times now and winning on Kennen 3 times. Why do you like this champion so much? And why is it so successful?
I mean, it's kind of a throwback to my better days at Worlds in 2016, when the meta for top lane was just Kennen, Rumble, and Jace. And at that Worlds, Kennen was my best champion, so I could say it's kind of like a pocket pick, because I don't see a lot of people playing it, not even like other regions or in EU. It's kind of like my own thing where I just can blind pick Kennen and just make it work, just because, I don't know, with Klepto and such a strong laning phase, it's really easy to just take over games.
Well, I'm happy this is a big working for you guys. You were mentioning facing Misfits next week. How do you feel about this matchup?
Well, from what I know and what they show us in scrims, I think it's gonna be a really fast game.
Fast?
Yeah.
Okay. In which favor?
Misfits, of course.
Yeah, sure. We'll see about this. Thank you for joining me after this victory. And for more on this game, let's send it to Trevor and Froskurinn.
Thank you very much, Laure. Odoamne, what a troll. It's going to be a fast game for Misfits, of course. A little bit of banter. Anyways, welcome. I'm joined, of course, by Froskurinn at the machine that we here at the LEC call the Telestrator. Now, we're going to break down one of the plays that, Frost, you were quite excited about, and it's intentionally about setting up a gank for later on. So set this up for me.
Okay, so this is right as upset has backed and he's walking back into the lane. Now, what's going to happen is that IgNar is actually going to stall the backs of kaSing and Jeskla. He's only going to interrupt the Alistar right here. He'll step forward, but I want actually everyone to pay attention to what Upset does while his support disrupts their backs. Upset grabs hold of the minion aggro and places a control ward. Now, why this is important is because he's actually effectively setting up a freeze on Jeskla, which will be punished immediately. So grabs the aggro, you can now see that the wave's much larger on the blue side, and it's basically just going to sit there. That means Sivir's gonna have so much farther to walk and to try to CS here. And you can already see Jeskla kind of knows that he's in a bad situation. He's posturing a little bit defensively. He's scared. He's saying, okay, if I want the CS, if I want to do it, I have to overextend. And right on time, who is it? It's IgNar. And following behind him, here comes Memento. And what this freeze does is it sets up Jeskla for an immediate gank to then die. And what's cool about this is that it's like a minute in advance. And this is why Schalke are such a clever team.
And also, even if you look at Jesk's positioning, he didn't even overextend in the lane. He knew that there was a threat. And the whole time I was watching that Froskurinn, Memento was near his red buff when the minion freeze started. We, of course, fast-forwarded through it. But, like, what's the takeaway? Okay, because you were very, very hyped about the play. You were very excited as you were breaking it down for me on the desk. But if I zoom out, what does this tell me about the team or the players?
It basically means that when you see that in a minute in advance, as soon as I saw Upset grab the freeze, I was like, oh, they're going to camp bottom because Jesk's going to have to overextend and they're going to immediately punish it. And then it was the fact that it also had the control ward on top. And what's cool is it's a perfect demonstration of kind of that knock-on effect about the well-oiled machine that is Schalke. You know, it's IgNar recognizing that I'm going to delay the backs. It's Upset saying, I've already got the control ward, now I'm going to do the freeze. And then it's Memento being like, okay, my bot lane set up a perfect gank for me. This is going to be easy. And when you're in that type of scenario, that's why Schalke are so scary. Everyone is doing their part.
What I absolutely love is while everyone's doing their part, we hear Odoamne in the interview going, yeah, KDA player, let him die, right? So it actually shows you it's a little inkling or a little insight into their team comms that they are discussing these moves. They are discussing these plays. I mean, the team is now on a 4-game winning streak. They're at the top of the table as contenders. And it's an exciting time for a team that was somewhat underrated coming in and is now one of the sleeper surprises coming into the middle of the split.
I mean, they're basically the resident sleeper team. They're sleeper OP. No one saw them coming. And when you look at, again, the roster, you didn't expect them to have this type of synergy. And that's what's been so impressive about Schalke. They look like they've been playing together for years.
And of course, because we saw the freeze set up by upseL in the bottom lane, but it was IgNar that made the first move. It is upseL that gets Kia player of the game. He managed to pick up 50% of the votes. I think Carrier's winning all of the player of the games is rigged. I think that we're undervaluing the setup from everyone else.
I think it's actually speaking about how across the board, almost in every single lane, the LEC has had a massive insurge of more talent. Again, EU has always been known for its talent, its new talent, and its old. And again, this shows perfectly why upseL is so good in the lane phase as well as his team fights.
Especially when he's joined with IgNar and Memento and they come as a team. Thank you very much for that one, Frosk. Coming up next, we've got 2 story teams, SK Gaming and Origin, taking to the stage. Join us, or rather me, for a walk down memory lane right after the sad break.
Spike comes down from Caedral. He'll get the blue buff. Memento will be on the chase. It flash away from Caedral, but the chase is good for Memento. Waited on the sweep. Gets him under the tower. Memento, one more shot. Is it enough? It is! Slicing Maelstrom doesn't catch on to expect, but the Mark of the Storm does. Now upseL jumps forward as well. Jeskla low on the backline, down to half. 2 kills for Schalke. This time Memento and upseL getting this mid lane tower. upseL chased out here by exceL. Pops the killer instinct, but exceL's still on the oh my god! They force exceL back towards their fountain. And with their 4th win in a row, Schalke solidify themselves at the top of the... I'm going to do it again, though. Their 4th win in a row. Schalke solidify themselves at the top of the LEC.